So I think I'm about where I need to be on this. Since I need a fall and rise that's consistent, and I want it to rise as soon as it's done falling, I figured the DC decoupling capacitor from the crank triggers a 555 timer, and it'll go between 1/3 and 2/3 of the voltage it's running off of, which I'm thinking will be 5 volts. Because if I did 12 and then had a low battery, I don't want to deal with any weirdness. So 5 volts. This circuit here, an op amp as a buffer, potentiometer between 5 volts and ground, and it'll just send out the same voltage that I set here. And then that creates a offset here. If it was just ideal and I could just go 0 to 5 and then expect it to work, then I would just set this to 1.6 and then have a gain of 3 from this op amp, and then I just get a 0 to 5 volt pulse that looks something like this. But that may not be quite right. I'll have to be able to tune it because I can't just change the flow of an injector. So I'll be able to offset this wave up and down based on this potentiometer, and then I'll be able to change the gain of this one here if I want to make this pulse narrower. It'll still affect, basically blue represents what the map sensor would see at idle, or with the throttle closed, and the red line represents the what it would send out when the throttle's wide open. So if I need less fuel when I'm idling, I could just run the map sensor through a potentiometer to drop its voltage down, a voltage divider. Then that would also change up here, which may be a thing I want, because if the map sensor going up gives me way too much gas to where it doesn't run right, I might want to do that. But also I could just change the gain here. There's my pen. If I change the gain on that second op amp, then I'll get a wave that's more, a pulse that's more like this. So now the time that the map sensor is above the voltage of this pulse is less, and it barely changes idle. So between the positive and minus here, that will just take this entire wave, this entire pulse in the black line, and just shift it up and down. Obviously I go too far down, then the top of this is down here, and then at wide open throttle would just flood. Hopefully I can just avoid that. Between that and changing the gain here to make this narrower, I should be able to dial it in without having to do a bunch of math. Just a good bit of trial and error. I think it'll be that simple. I'm just going to have to wait till I get all the parts in. I'll probably wire up all the electronics, hook them up to the engine while it's running off the carburetor, stick the injector just in the gas tank that I run this off of, and just run it and see how the injector behaves, see if it's even remotely resembles something that would function before I actually try it. And I want to see if I can add some variable spark delay to this too. It should be possible. Tie into some of the same circuits, and I'm not using the actual output of the 555 timer. This would come from the resistor that charges and discharges. To create that, there'd be a separate output. I'm thinking I can run that through a resistor to a capacitor, have to figure out the right values, and as the engine runs faster, the voltage that's stored on that capacitor would change, and I should be able to use that value to vary the amount of delay on the spark. Which you say, well, you'd want more advance if it's not spinning faster, but I'll have the crank trigger, like top dead center is here, and the trigger will be here. So it'll trigger, go a little bit before top dead center, and then I'll just tune the delay from here to wherever I need it before top dead center. So at idle, have more delay, and as the voltage in the circuit I just described goes up, it less delay from where the crank trigger is, which equals more advance. Anyway,